The story of Caspian Sea Drinks tells a story of corporate finance. If you understand this picture, you understand corporate finance. Of course, there's some details you have to fill in, but it's important to have this sort of 30,000 foot view so you can have some good intuition and some good background knowledge. What happened with Caspian Sea? Benson and Alex came up with this plum drink. It was really good. They thought they could sell it and make some money, so they put their money together. They bought the ingredients, they bought some equipment, but as often happens, they run out of money. They need to expand. So what do? They go to sources of outside funding, which are friends, family, and fools. So Spencer comes along and says, okay guys, I'll put in $40,000, but I want to be 30% owner of the firm. So they make that agreement. So Benson and Alex, they run the company. They're active investors, they're managers. Spencer is a passive investor. He makes no decisions in the day-to-day operations of the firm. These guys are going to have some conflicts. Stovall and Justin decide they'll put money in, but they don't want to be owners. They want to loan money. So they're what we'll call debt holders. They don't own a percentage of the firm. They own a promise, and that promise is they will get paid a certain amount of money on a certain date. So these guys, the owners, and the debt holders, ones who've loaned money, they're going to have conflicts. So they put the money in to Caspian Sea Drinks, and the goal of any firm, right? You put money in, you want to get more money out. And I don't want you even to think of this as Caspian Sea Drinks. It doesn't matter what the company is making. It doesn't matter if it's a drink or software or a car or whatever. Think of this as a money machine, and the goal of the money machine is put money in, get more money out. So the next decision, once that money comes out, what do you do with it? Well, the first thing you have to do, you have to pay the debt holders. They have not bought a share of ownership of the firm. They have bought the right to get paid a certain amount on a certain date. If they don't get that money, then the firm goes bankrupt, and Caspian Sea Drinks is no longer in control of the current owners, Benson, Alex, and Spencer. The ownership goes over to Stovall and Justin. Okay, whatever money's left over after you pay the debt holders, now it goes to Benson, Alex, and Spencer, and they have a decision to make. That decision is this: should they take some of the money out of the firm? So imagine that they've started small here. Imagine in the beginning, they've sold a bunch of the drink somewhere on campus. They have a jar full of money. What do they do with that money? Do they keep the money, spend it, go out and have a good time, or do they take part of the money and put it back into the business and buy more equipment, more ingredients, and make more of the drink? Okay, so I want you to think about some questions. If you are Spencer or Stovall or Justin, what are the questions that you ask? These guys come to you and say, invest in my company. Well, I'd say you probably have 3 questions to start with. I'm going to put money in, I want more money out. Exactly how much more money am I going to get out? Oh, and by the way, exactly when will I get that, and how sure are you that this is going to happen? Alright, so we have really 3 questions in finance, or 3 decisions in finance. The first is the financing decision, and that decision is, if you're Benson and Alex and you need more money, where does the money come from? Do you have more people that you make part owner like Spencer, or do you want to have people loan you money like Justin and Stovall? And what's the problem there? Think of briefly what this conflict is. If you have an owner like Spencer and you make a bunch of money, you have to share that money with him. If you don't make any money, you don't go broke. He doesn't take control of the firm. If you loan money, if you borrow money from Stovall and Justin, and you don't make what you promised them, you miss that payment, you go bankrupt, and Caspian Sea Drinks is now in the control of Stovall and Justin. But if you make a bunch of money, then you don't have to share it with them. So that's one of the basic conflicts in the financing decision. The next decision is the investment decision. Now that you have that money, what do you do with it? Well, there are different types of equipment that you can buy. Maybe you expand locations. Whatever it is, how do I use this money in this money machine to make more money? The next decision is the dividend decision. Now that I've made the money, what do I do with it? Do I keep it or do I put it back into the firm? So those are the three decisions in finance: the financing decision, the investment decision, and the dividend decision. Now let me show you another picture of a generic firm. Here's the picture of the generic firm. So we have the equity holders and the debt holders. They put money into a money machine. More money comes out. We have to decide what to do with it. Well, the first thing we need to do is think about what the investors are thinking. Before I invest in the firm, and by invest I mean either buy a portion of the firm and become a part owner, or to loan them money, either one, I need to know how much money is going to come out the other side. So I need to know the size, timing, and risk of the cash flows. This is hugely important. Everything we do in finance comes down to basically this: I'm giving up money today to get money in the future, or some variation of that problem. In order to determine how much money I will give up today to get money in the future, I need to know the size, timing, and risk of the cash flows. We have to do some fundamentals. In chapters 2 and 3, we do those fundamentals with all different types of scenarios, trying to figure out how to value money. It's called the time value of money. How to determine what I'll give up today to get in the future. Size, timing, risk of the cash flows. How do I determine the size, timing, and risk of the cash flows? I need to know what's going on inside this corporate money machine. How do I do that? Think of it as a machine. You got to look inside and see what's going on. So chapters 4 and 5 do that for us. Those are the financial statements. We need to understand not the product that's being made in the sense of some drink or, some car or some whatever the material happens to be, whatever the product is. The product is the cash. Chapters 4 and 5 tell us how that cash flow works. So we have to estimate for ourselves the size, timing, and risk of the cash flows. Remember I told you the decisions in finance, first of all, was the financing decision. So in chapters 6 and 7, we're not going to look necessarily at the decision of the CEO to either get new owners, raise money by selling equity, or raise money by selling debt, but we're going to learn how to value that. So if you're the investor, how much are you willing to pay for part ownership of the firm? If you're the investor, what terms and conditions do you need to loan money to the firm? So that's chapters 6 and 7. Chapters 8 and 9, we're going to look at the investment decision. Right? And the investment decision is, now that we have the money, what projects do we do? And it's going to be the same type of decision. We're giving up money today to buy equipment or do whatever project to get money in the future. I need to know the size, timing, and risk of the cash flows. Just like the potential investors need to know the size, timing, and risk of the cash flows. This dividend decision, we're not going to really deal with very much because we don't have time to get there quite yet. But in chapter 10, we're going to have some kind of conclusions, some overviews, and kind of here's what you need to know in finance in the future. So that's basically it. Everything else in finance is details, and that's corporate finance in exactly 9 minutes.